Hotel workers. What is the weirdest thing someone has asked for in their room? Hotel concierge here. Once a guy wanted a large framed picture of himself to be hung in a woman's room for her when she arrived. He of course also wanted me not to inform the woman, as this was supposed to surprise her. But this dude was really creepy and set my spider sense off. I called the woman who had the reservation to ruin the surprise for her. Turns out the guy was her stalker. We called the police. I know that's not the craziest thing in the world, but can you imagine how it would have been for that poor woman if she walked into the room and had a picture of that guy in it? Gives me shivers today. You probably saved a few months of nightmares and psych bills. My SO was a hotel concierge for 17 years at some high-end hotels. She says they tend to bring the weird crap with them. Plastic vaginas, latex titties, etc. One guy used to bring a suitcase of sex toys with him and would leave it wide open and then order room service. She said there was one time a couple staying at the hotel had planned a picnic but had to cancel it due to weather. So she had an unoccupied room cleared out, bed, desk, dresser, everything, moved, and set up the picnic in the room. That's technically the weirdest thing she's ever put in a room. A suitcase of sex toys with him, and would leave it wide open and then order room service. This guy watches way too much pee. A middle-aged man once asked if he could have 3 extra televisions in his room. Once I explained why I couldn't do that for him. I asked him why and he refused to answer the question. It was really odd. I'm on concierge on Oahu. One time I had a group of 4 older German people come up and demand tickets to see the Titanic. At first I thought they were referring to the movie, but nope. They wanted to see the actual ship. Turns out what they really wanted was to go to Pearl Harbor, but it took about 30 minutes to convince them that the Titanic wasn't in Honolulu. Another time I had a guest come up to my desk to ask if we could store some breast milk for her. She was in one of our smaller rooms that didn't have a full kitchen, just a microwave and small fridge, and she needed it to be frozen. We said yes, and she came down with the largest box of breast milk I've ever seen. I'm talking moving box size. It filled up our entire icebox freezer and our break room freezer. She ended up bringing new boxes every couple weeks when she picked up the previously stored ones, and none of the staff could bring in any frozen foods for lunch for about 3 months. An electric skillet to cook their bacon. When we couldn't fulfill that request, they went out and bought one, fried their bacon and poured the grease down the sink, clogging it and flooding their room and damaging the room below when they left to pool for a while. That wouldn't have been so terrible if they hadn't done the grease down the sink thing. What jerks. 2 weeks after becoming a valet, this guest made me guard his Jaguar in the parking lot for almost 3 hours. Management agreed and I got paid to stand in the parking lot and browse Reddit in front of his car. Although it was a real Jaguar. Guy came in and asked if he could use a conference room with a TV VCR combo so that he could review some films for work. We were pretty slow and he said he only needed it for an hour or so. We allowed him access to the conference room. I went down to check on him to see if he needed anything. We had peepholes in the door so that the employees could peek in without disturbing meetings. Well, I peeped and immediately regretted it. Guy had pee on the TV, pants around his ankles, and was going at himself rather furiously. Review some films. I don't know what you expected. Not someone asking for something, but similar. I work on the front desk. On my 3rd shift, a gay guy came in and told me he'd stayed a few nights earlier and had accidentally left 2 dildos in his room and wanted to pick them up. The cleaners had found them and thrown them out. When I told him, he got majorly pissed off and wanted us to reimburse him for them. Kudos to him for being brave enough to come back though. I don't think I have ever had anything truly off the wall asked for. I have had requests for drugs and prostitutes. People getting belligerently pissed off that I can't get them a lobster dinner at 4 AM or that they have to wait until normal business hours for me to get them restaurant reservations or event tickets. The hotel may have people on staff 24 hours but the restaurants and ticket offices don't. The weirdest I remember is when we had a huge germaphobe who requested fresh towels, robes, slippers, sheets, blankets and pillows every couple of hours. We eventually had to tell him we absolutely can't send you any more stuff because we are running out of basic items to send to other guests. I worked graveyards as a bellman. Had many phone calls asking for escorts drugs. One guy was on a pretty good high, was at the front desk late one evening and started asking where he could get a BJ. We eventually had him leave, only for him to return and start soliciting passers-by if they would blow him while exposing him. Cops were called after that. Zombies these days. I had a guy request several boxes of dryer sheets and some aluminum foil. When I brought it to his room, he handed me an envelope full of cash and told me a guy would come and pick it up. He wouldn't give me the guy's name, just a description of what he looked like. I'm pretty sure that I assisted in a drug deal that day. He was kicked out a week later. They found dryer sheets crammed in every vent. Bet he was cooking something in there and tried to use those sheets to cover the smell. Front desk employee at a Hilton Garden Inn here. I get weird requests all the time. One of the most recent was a couple weeks ago. A group of ladies early 20s checked in. They needed a refrigerator. Pretty normal request. We have them in all of our rooms. But she felt the need to inform me that she had several ice penises that she needed to be kept cold. I assured her that we could service her needs. Extra mirrors. 4 hooks installed above the bed in a square formation so she could hang a sex swing. Operations department actually did it. When she checked in, she was with a pair of 18-year-old male twins. I don't know if they were her sons or just boy toys. A woman from a bachelorette party told us to make sure we give them rooms away from other people because some of us are very vocal when we orgasm and we don't want people to call security, but I think she was dared to say that one. One guy kept clogging his tub with string and beads. We kicked him out. Like what the frick? Former bellhop. This was a checkout, but 2 guests were hosting a bachelorette party the night before and I got to be the one to help carry down their penis cake. It was, if I recall, a black dong ejaculating onto a pair of rainbow breasts, or a rainbow dong and black breasts. The details are fuzzy, but it was definitely black and rainbow. There was pretty realistic looking semen coming out of the dong, which one of the ladies kept referring to as her concoction, which was relieving because it seriously looked like CM. Also, it took me like halfway into the elevator ride to realize that one of the women did not have the massive breasts I thought she did, but was actually walking around with 2 giant balloons under her shirt like nothing was up. They were seriously awesome guests. I know this isn't something someone asked for in their room. It's something they just brought, but the penis cake was so magnificent I had to share. My favorite part is that the penis cake was completely untouched. They had a second cake that they actually ate while the penis cake was just sort of for show. So many awesome people in the world just doing their thing. I serve in a restaurant in a Hilton in Florida. Had a guy ask me for a bottle of wine for him and his wife for when they go upstairs after their meal. Brought a bottle after the meal. The guy looked at me and said, "No sir, I need an empty bottle, it's our anniversary." I was so confused by this statement. I gave them an empty house wine bottle from behind the bar. As I brought it to them, they both had a creepy grin of excitement. Never saw them after they got onto the elevator. Still wonder who got the bottle in the end of the night. For one of our bellmen to stand in the door and speak Spanish to him while he had the lights off. He didn't speak Spanish and didn't care what the bellman said. Para español open numero dos. Worked at a 5-star hotel in the heart of Boston as a room attendant. We would be the personal concierge for certain customers who paid extra. I've all sort of weird things requested. People would ask me to find drugs, get them the strangest foods, and even once feed them. She was elderly but still kinda weird. We were told that no matter how weird the request, save for the illegal ones, we were to try and fulfill them. I once had a man, overweight in his 50s, ask me for a BJ. At first I thought he meant find him a H, but no, he wanted me to suck him off. Kindly told him no and he threatened to tell my boss that I was refusing his request and that he will not only have his BJ, but have me fired as well. He called my manager and told him I was refusing doing what he asked. Manager came up and asked what was going on and the man said he asked for me to take his dry cleaning and I refused. I denied this and told my manager what happened. The customer then got angry and demanded I was fired. What he didn't know was that we had cameras in the hallways that had sound, and that one of the cameras picked up him asking for the BJ. The man was quickly escorted out and banned for life. My manager felt bad and gave me a paid week off. Later on I found out that the man was arrested for raping his personal assistant. The weirdest part about the story, I am a guy. Sounds sexist, but it seems weirder when this stuff happens to a man. I worked front desk at a Best Western for a few months. One day, I get to work and the hotel manager lets me know that we have been informed by local police that a man they've been looking for is planning to check into our hotel this evening. I was then instructed to check the man into a certain room, where the police would have access to arrest him when he went to leave the next morning. I wasn't told what the man had done, so I say sounds good, and the manager says alright, let me know if you need anything. I'm going home for the night, so I'm left alone to check in a wanted convict. Everyone else has gone home. No housekeeping, no maintenance, nada. So the guy shows up, uses his prison to check in, so he leaves the desk, and I have 6 hours left until my shift is over. I was terrified. Well, the plan was a success. They got the guy, and the news report informed me that he and his brother robbed a Super 8 motel at gunpoint in our city the week before. Could have been me, guys. Could have been me. TLDR. Helped with a police stakeout for a guy that robbed a Super 8 motel at gunpoint the week before. I cannot believe that they would leave you completely alone with a criminal that was armed and dangerous. That doesn't sound right at all. I answered the phones for a 5 hotel. A celebrity stayed with her entire entourage and they took over a whole floor. She rang the front desk to tell us her phone wasn't working. Turned out her staff were sick of her demands and just stopped answering. Also had someone ring down to ask how to close their curtains. Surely that's easy. I work in a hotel restaurant. Had a request by a couple on their anniversary to have 3 shots sent up to their room after dinner. Easy enough, right? Well, dinner was done and her husband already went up to the room, so as I'm taking her payment she asks, "You're not be gay by chance?" Odd question. But no. Sorry. To which she replies, "Oh well, either way, if you're interested, me and my husband like to have a little extra fun on our anniversary, so when you get off work come to our work and we'll get you off." Well, I politely declined and when she left, she went over to the hotel bar and asks the first individual man she sees. Turns out it's the hotel general manager having drinks after hours. They had to find a new place to stay that night. TLDR. Asks for a threesome for her anniversary. Asked a concierge at a 5-star hotel the weirdest request she's ever gotten. She told me that last year, a customer requested a live lamb be brought up. They went out, found one, bought it, and brought it up within 24 hours. RIP lamb. First summer out of high school, summer of '69. Yes, really. I worked at my uncle's motel on Sunrise Highway in Long Island. It was a respectable place, but I learned that even nice places would rent rooms for a few hours during the afternoon. They called them the cheaters rooms. There was a 22-year-old guy afternoon desk clerk who had a sense of humor. He rented a cheaters room to a couple of women whom everybody believed were lesbians. When they left, the daytime housekeeping staff had already gone, so he went to clean the room and make it ready for a regular nighttime guest. Next day, the head housekeeper asked him about it. He told her that when he cleaned the room, he found a couple of bananas there. She asked what he did with them. He said they were a little bit green, but he ate them anyway. I never figured out if he was trolling her or not, but either way, it's a great story. Well, it was never requested, but it was left behind in a room. A housekeeper was cleaning a room and there was crap, literally, all over the bed. She moved one of the pillows and there was a butt plug sitting there, though she had no clue it was a butt plug. She came running down the hallway to find me to complain about the room and b. ask me what it was she found and if she needed to send it to Lost and Found. She brought me to the room and I immediately gagged because of the smell and seeing the sheets. Then she showed me the plug. I slapped it out of her hand and told her to wash her hands immediately, put gloves on, and throw it away. Hotel housekeeper, forever unclean. These ladies came to stay at our hotel last year. They asked for a total of 6 extra flat sheets. We didn't know what for, so I left them in the room as requested. Come check out time I'm going in to clean the room and they covers just about every surface in sheets. Weird. Finally, some weird crap. I live in a college town in the northern half of Florida. A lot of Arabs visit, and many of them absolutely cannot get their rooms hot enough for them to be comfortable. Not weird, really, but I found it interesting. One family I remember in particular was obviously kind of well-to-do and was demanding we fix the heat and being very mean about it. But the father kicked our maintenance guy while he was on the floor checking on it, lightly. More a foot tap. Maintenance guy was very angry about this the rest of the day. I remember going to help another family get their internet set up who were the sweetest human beings in the world but barely spoke English and had their heat on full blast with jackets on. It had to have been 90 in there. Room service here, so plenty of crazy requests come my way. My place is 5, so I'm tempted to believe we probably receive the most weird and wonderful ones, but it's so run-of-the-mill to me now that I can't even think of anything that odd. It still baffles me how people will pay £800 per night for a room but will rinse the heck out of the free amenities rather than paying for anything extra. I guess the worst we have had in our history was something not provided by us but still horrifying. We have had a guest sacrifice a chicken in one of our rooms. Yeah, no one has any idea how they got it past reception and actually into the room, but it was discovered by the housekeeping, that poor maid, after the guest checked out, and they didn't even get blacklisted. Another memorable one was the discovery of more than 50 sex toys left in a room after departure. We have a 3-month policy on lost on found, after which everything is disposed of. The guest never called to get any of it back, so this sticky collection sat in one of our cupboards for that entire time. I worked as a bellboy and got many weird requests. This one wins the loot. In the second week of work, it was summer job. Still getting used to things and what I as a bellboy can actually do. This hotel has many Russian guests, usually in 60s or up. At the time the CEO had a marvelous idea to change old box TVs with plasma TVs during main season. Most marvelous indeed. They started at 5th top floor and went downwards, and one family was placed in 5th floor and one in 3rd floor. 4th floor had just been started with new TV. Soon some old man comes to the receptions during lunch break and I was only one there at the time. Boss was away for short time but not on the lunch. He started rambling something in Russian and clearly mad for reason unknown to me. Boss came and quickly took over the situation. He spoke Russian and after 5 minutes the man left. I asked him what was that all about. Ugh. Freaking idiot. He demands a free stay if we don't get him a plasma TV because his soon has one and he doesn't. The plasma has some Russian programs but even that is not enough. He wants us to call the cable company and get him some Russian program which is God knows what on it. And if we don't do that he will sue us. Let him come one more time if he dares. Russian guy did not get what he wanted due to 100% occupation rate. Did not get a discount and we even charge him €20 extra. He got drunk one night and went on bartender's nevers and he added few more drinks to the bill. Read this whole thing in a Russian accent. Would recommend 10/10. I was a hotel guest and I had a very interesting request once. I was already at the airport heading out to my international flight when I realized I left my camera at the hotel. I called the hotel and told them I left my camera. They said we can't take it to you at the airport. Sure enough, they sent someone to the airport almost an hour away with my camera. Luckily I got there early and had time to spare, but not enough time to go back. I got my camera. They charged something like $100 to my credit card for it, but it was worth it. I don't work in a hotel, but I once asked specifically for a room with a freezer. Why is this odd? My wife had a conference at this hotel. It was a 2-day thing in the week before or after Valentine's Day. I forget which. I had the day off and went fishing nearby, but I was sick and it clouded my judgment somewhat. I caught a keeper flounder and decided that I'd keep and clean it. Hence I wanted a freezer. I only had a bait knife but I'm fairly good at cleaning fish, and flounder is easy to clean. Instead of cleaning it on the beach where I caught it, I decided I'd clean it in the hotel room because I wanted to continue fishing. So I ran a fishing line through its mouth gills and tied it to my tackle box and continued fishing. So, when I was done the flounder was still very much alive. I threw him in the bed of my truck and drove to the hotel as it was a few minutes away. So I get to this hotel and I have a still live flounder and I realize my mistake. I have a live flounder. I sneak him inside in a Walmart bag and grab a tray from my room that the fancy glasses came on. I basically gave him one huge cut right behind the head without fully taking it off because it's a little easier to clean with the head on. I place him on the tray and go I-town getting one fillet off quickly, then the second. For those that don't know, you get 4 fillets from flounder. I flip the fish over to get the last 2 and all hell breaks loose. The fish was, somehow, still alive. He flops off the tray, hits the floor and flops under a bed. I drag him out from under the bed and I'm about to deliver what I thought would be the second coup de grace, but he suddenly jumps again. This time sliding across to the bathroom and behind the toilet. I'm chasing a dying, half-filleted fish around a hotel room while he slimes everything. Finally I just take his head off. But of course his body still has reflexes, so he flops periodically as I take the last 2 fillets. There's fish slime, blood, and water all over the room. And I'm sick so I can't smell it. My wife, who was pregnant at the time, instantly detects fish and lets me know that I'm stinky from fishing and that I've stunk the entire room up. Yeah, that's definitely why. TLDR. Cleaned a live fish in a hotel room. For me to get out, I was showing the room to a young couple who frequented our ratty hotel for trysts. I saw them about twice a month. They were great, funny, polite suckers. They'd been eating Chinese takeout on this particular night in their standard double when a swatch of wallpaper, this is Tampa, hot and steamy, had curled down from the wall and came to rest inside their takeout tray. Yes, new room right away. I checked the rack entry. Room's empty, occupied, reserved for night. And walked them to a nice suite. Opened the door, walked in, was going for the far end of the room to turn on the AC. The guy coming in behind me flicked on the light and I suddenly stand before a very old, Amish couple frozen in the missionary position on the king, soaked with sweat in the hot room. Get out, the guy barked, but I was already running back to the lobby. The Chinese food couple were, too. We were sputtering with laughter. A moment later, Farmer Askosh is demanding an apology for the intrusion. The Chinese food couple appear suddenly, start laughing again before disappearing back around the corner. The angry old man in the overalls half-hitched stomped out of the lobby, glaring at the Chinese food couple. Some big Hollywood types were staying in the penthouse on New Year's Eve and requested a block of wood, a donut, a ball of twine, 3 nails, a club sandwich, a bucket of ice, and a hatchet as sharp as the devil himself. Work in a hotel kitchen. Guest called and asked for baking soda and tin foil to make biscuits. Thought it was kinda weird, BC, how would you cook them in a hotel room? Delivered the items and I am almost positive they used it to make crack. They absolutely used it to make crack. Had a gentleman offer me a $5,000 finder's fee to find 2 girls to play anal ring toss with. He and his buddies wanted to have 2 naked girls doggy style on opposite sides do the room with dildos in their asses. Then they would play ring toss or horseshoes or something. I gave him the local strip club number. Well, he sounds wonderful. Who am I kidding? I'd do this if it were male strippers. I've got a few stories. I used to work nights in a shady part of Phoenix and would get weird requests all the time. One time I got a call from a woman in an unregistered room asking for towels. I asked her to come to the lobby so I can properly register her in the room, and she said okay. A few minutes pass and she hasn't come down yet, so I go up to the room and knock. An attractive young woman answers the door and I ask for her to come down to register. She offers to just give me the payment here to take down, so I agree. She goes to her purse and pulls out a lottery ticket. It's not even a winning ticket, so I ask for a card. She tells me it's all she has, so I respectfully ask her to leave. She starts to get upset at this point and refuses. I tell her I'm going to phone the police, and as I turn to leave the room she jumps on my back and tries to bite my neck. I flipped her over my shoulder and run to my office to call the cops. It turns out she had escaped from a nearby rehab clinic and pried open a window to get inside. She tried to bite the cops too, so they had to stuff a cloth bag over her head and cuff her hands and feet together. So I asked for a raise and got it. Success. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.